Now, taking control with Dr. Josh.
The holiday shopping season is about to get underway, and for millions of Americans, the holiday season means spending their way into pretty significant debt. Joining us this morning with some tips on how to stay within our means is UAB psychologist Dr. Josh Claypost. Thanks so much for being here.
Sure, Gina.
This is really tough for a lot of people. Even when we see, economic problems throughout the country, people still manage to get in debt. Why is that?
It feels so often like an us versus them. The retailers are going against us to try to take our money. And the reality is, look, they're trying to sell their products. And the question is, do we have a game plan to stay within control? And most often we don't, and as a result we spend more than we want to.
It's so true, and especially during the holidays, there's so many incentives to get this credit card and that credit card.
Yep.
So how can you stay within your means and keep control?
I got about 4 or 5 things that you need to keep in mind as you head out there to go shopping. First one, if you think about it, Santa has a list and he checks it twice, right? Okay.
Right.
Most of us don't ever write a list down. What we do is we just kind of go out there and we think in our mind, okay, here's what I'm going to shop for. I want you to write a list down of exactly who you're going to shop for and write your budget, which most people have somewhat of a budget. Write it on top of that piece of paper and take it with you. It will remind you to stay in control.
Yeah, you said always bring it with you and arrange things so that you won't fall into trouble.
Exactly. When you get out there, there's a couple things to do. Number one, as you're shopping, cross off each person who you bought for and write down how much you spent. Not so much for accounting purposes, but you need to remind yourself that you're spending. That's really important because a lot of times we forget that we're actually spending. So write down how much and write down, cross off who you spent for. And don't take credit cards if you can at all avoid it. Bring the debit cards. If you have to bring credit cards, bring 1, not 3. If you get tired out there, stop. Because that's when you make your worst purchases, is when you're tired, you're fatigued, you make an impulse buy. It's better to stop, regroup, and head back out the next day.
I think the credit card advice was really good advice because that's so tempting, and then you're buying, you don't even realize it.
Exactly. Well, and related to that, and this may sound a little strange, let somebody you know or love know what your budget is and hold yourself accountable to them. Just knowing that someone's going to check up on you, again, will help you stick more within your budget. You do all these things, the last thing I want you to do is hold a little bit of your budget aside for yourself. If you stick with it, treat yourself. It's always important to make this a pleasant experience, and there's nothing wrong with having a little treat for yourself if you stay within your budget.
That's the best tip you've given all morning. I like that one the best. All right, Dr. Josh, as always, thank you.
Thanks, Gina.